There you go, Mike. Can't believe you refer to your pal.
Oh.
I'm still doing them for you.
Thank you, Mum. Oh, clean sheets. Oh, these were 4 points a pop, you know.
What are you talking about?
Some people just don't get it. That was an incredibly tedious link. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of my FPL series. Thank you so much everyone for all the hits on the last episode. It was absolutely nuts. I've never done an episode that's reached 1,000 views quicker than that, and it just means a lot, so thank you so much. Hopefully not all of you have copied it, or I'm going to be responsible for a lot of bad teams this year. But, seemingly that some of you actually trust in what I'm doing, I thought that I would go through position by position 5 budget signings to start with that may make that a little bit of a difference to your FPL teams. Not saying the differentials, because if anyone else is smart, they'll copy me as well. I'm really bigging myself up here. This is not a good idea. So the criteria for this list is obviously they naturally have to be a defender and they have to be valued at £5 million or less within the fantasy football game. Naturally, a couple of the players that are only going to be in this list are actually in the fantasy football video that I did where I did my first draft team, because why wouldn't I want to follow my own advice? So we may as well kick off with my main tip to start the season anyway, and that is of course Ruben Vinagre. Lots of vinegar jokes came in. I want to chip in with a few as well. Oh! Love a pun. Love a pun. Oh, for God's sake, Mike, stop it. No, genuinely, now I need to stop it. So Ruben Vinagre is of course the backup left back for Wolves in their kind of 5-3-2 system that they play. The best thing about him is that at the moment Johnny is injured. Unfortunate for Johnny, great for Ruben Vinagre at a price of only £4.5 million, and you can tell here he's owned by 15% of the game, so a fair amount of people have got him on the mind. Last year, you look at it, he only got 32 points, but that's because obviously he was behind Johnny. But he did contribute when he came in with 3 clean sheets, so not bad at all. And when you look at Wolves' at the start to the season, the first 2 games don't scream out brilliant to you, but just check it out from game week 3 to game week 7. 5 game weeks of only 2 difficulty rating fixtures against West Ham, Fulham, Leeds, Newcastle and Crystal Palace. There's also the run for attacking returns. He didn't get any last year, but again, didn't play that much. This year, I do feel that obviously Wolves are going to be high on confidence after the Europa League, and I'd be amazed if Vinagre didn't chip in and get you some very decent points within those first 8 game weeks. Next up on the list is a choice really between Eric Peters and Charlie Taylor. Charlie Taylor ended up finishing the season ahead of Eric Peters last year, and that makes me think that he is going to be Sean Dyche's number 1 player at left back going forward. Valued again at only £4.5 million, 9% of players have currently got on the team, so he offers a very decent differential. And when you look at Burnley's fixtures, they don't have a starting fixture, then they're away to Leicester, but after that, Southampton, Newcastle, West Brom, 3 quite easy fixtures, no, not easy fixtures, but fixtures where you'd anticipate that they would do well to keep a clean sheet. Then you've got Spurs, Chelsea, but both at Turf Moor, Brighton and Hove Albion, and then Crystal Palace. So actually their run at the start of the season until game week 10, where they start playing Manchester City and Arsenal, etc., is actually quite nice. And of course, Charlie Taylor will be trying to whip balls into the box. He's got at least 1 assist per season. I think that will increase this year if he is going to be the Burnley left back. I just think that for £4.5 million and a defence that usually does very well indeed, not a bad shout. Not a bad shout at all. But obviously the hard part is going to be if it's going to be him or Eric Peters at the start of the season who starts in that left back position. So potentially use the Leicester game where you wouldn't want to have him in your first team. Use that as a kind of barometer of where he is going to be playing and if he is the first choice. Moving into slightly more well-known territory, there is a lot of potential when it comes to Luke Shaw. For all the fact that Manchester United took a bit of a flogging in terms of their defensive attributes last year, they weren't as bad as I believe people think that they were. Half the season, at the start of the season, very poor at the back, but as the season went on, they got progressively stronger and stronger, and Luke Shaw was in no small part down to that. Naturally, playing as left back, you can see a pattern here, can't you? At £5 million, is a very good, cheap way into a Manchester United defensive line that shouldn't really be tested that much over the first couple of game weeks. With Crystal Palace, Brighton, Hove Albion, Spurs at home, and then Newcastle away, a decent 4 fixtures to see how settled that United back line is. Naturally, a lot of people are going to be going for United players offensively, but if you do fancy taking a little part in that United backline, then Luke Shaw is likely to offer you a lot more in the way of attacking returns than the very similarly priced Lindelof, because he is also £5 million. He's also owned by only 1.3% of the population by the FPL population at the moment, Luke Shaw. So a pretty good differential. Last year didn't play particularly that well, got 0 goals and 0 assists, but the year before that 1 goal and 5 assists. There is the potential of Luke Shaw that if he gets himself into a run of form and keeps himself fit, he could be a little bit of a diamond, but if not, I'd suggest Lindelof. To clarify, Lindelof is only owned by 2%, and he also only got 1 goal last year, but did make it into a century's worth of points, and at the moment he still looks like he is going to be the main partner for Harry Maguire in the United defence. They'll also potentially have Dean Henderson behind them instead of David De Gea, which automatically makes it a bit of a safer bet. And it wouldn't be a defensive one if we weren't talking about Sheffield United. Apart from the fact they could obviously suffer second season syndrome, Sheffield United got off to such a decent start last year and such a good vein of form, and they looked like a really compact team that knew exactly what they're doing, and it doesn't look like that much has changed with the addition of Aaron Ramsdale behind them, who's obviously a very good shot stopper. I expect them to be defensively very solid again this year, and that's reflected in the ownership of John Egan. 17.7% of people have him in their side at the moment. He's only priced at £5 million, got a total of 133 points last year, which is very good for a newly promoted defender. 2 goals, 1 assist, 13 clean sheets. Very, very impressive stats for John Egan. You could also go for Chris Basham or O'Connell, but obviously Egan, probably a little bit more of a threat from set pieces. Definitely one that I think you should all look at. It's also worth noting that the Sheffield United's home fixtures in particular aren't too bad, and they do have a decent start to the season, apart from going away to Arsenal, then to Anfield, City and Chelsea in the space of only 5 game weeks. But if you look beyond that, and in the long run, could well be a very good choice if you get the rotation option correct. Naturally, I will have gone with James Justin, as he is a direct route into a Leicester City backline, which could well be missing Ben Chilwell if he does make his move to Chelsea, and will be without Ricardo Pereira for the start of the season. That makes James Justin very influential because he can play on either wing. But having said that, I feel that there is one player that is much better value, and that comes in the shape of Reece James. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking Chelsea wouldn't go near them with a barge pole at the back, but Reece James' attacking returns and the crosses that he puts in makes him a very decent differential defender. Only owned by 3.7% of the game, but £5 million for a Chelsea defender. At home, they're pretty good at keeping clean sheets. Away from home, not so much. When you look at the fixtures as well, they look very good. Only 2 reds within the first 14 game weeks, and that's at home to Liverpool and away to Manchester United, but Chelsea are more than capable of getting a result against either of those teams. I also think that it's just the attacking returns for Reece James. Last year had his first real go in the team. He didn't even play the full season, but actually chipping with 2 assists and 5 clean sheets, getting 61 points, which isn't too bad. But this year, there is no other real right back that is going to challenge him. I think he's made that spot his own, and he is definitely one that I would consider getting if you're looking for a higher team differential. You could also say in the potentially for Cedric Suarez, who naturally took over at the back for Arsenal, but as we all know, their early fixtures are not brilliant. You might be able to have him for 2 placeholding games with Fulham and West Ham, and then take him out for the remaining fixtures. But again, Arsenal aren't particularly solid at the back either, so it's a real choice between Cedric and James. I'd be more willing to go with James, considering the starting fixtures that Chelsea have in comparison to those of Arsenal. So there you have it. There are some differential choices of mine that I think may well increase your potential to do well in fantasy football this year. But if you fancy proving me as an idiot, make sure that you come down and join my league, the MikeRo Munch Invitational. Code is down in the description below. And while you're down there, why not drop a like on the video, share, subscribe, and let me know if there's anyone you think that I have missed. There's probably quite a few because there's a lot of defenders in the league. There's obviously naturally some other players that have been missing, but I think as peak value for money with the opening fixtures they've got, you're going to be hard pushed to find anyone quite as good as the people that I have mucked at. Naturally, it is all down to subjectivity and whichever you prefer, but in my opinion, these defenders that I've picked will give you a good budget way to enable you to spend more money going forward onto the midfielders, the strikers, where you can get the big points, and we'll be moving on to them in the next episode of my FPL series. Thank you so much for watching it. It really means a lot. Please remember to hit that like button, share, subscribe, and I'll see you for another episode of this or any of the other things that I do on my channel. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and stay cool. Bye. going to get my crisp clean sheets. Ooh! Not really, it's during the middle of the day.